get to go back to being exactly who I was. No, there's no value in that for you. There's intrinsic value in fasting, sure, but the main potential and value that you get from Ramadan, it's in the lasting effects. And then comes those small little tweaks and those small little changes. Constantly trying to develop ourselves and improve ourselves in all those little aspects. Because when you improve yourself on a holistic level, when you improve yourself in every aspect, that's when you really start to see the true difference. And look, I'm not saying in one go you have to become the perfect Muslim. No. I'm not saying in one go everything has to change so that you become absolutely perfect. No mistakes, no sins, no falling behind. Every mustahab act and every sunnah and everything is there and you're at 100%. That's not how we were built. Even when the Prophet first taught the people about Islam, when he first brings Islam to the people, the first thing he started off with was leave the idols and just focus on one God. Just focus on one God. It wasn't till way after that salah became compulsory. It wasn't till way after that alcohol became forbidden. It wasn't until way after that fasting in Ramadan. In increments, improve yourself slowly, sure, but make those tweaks. Try and develop yourself. Look at what you can do to make yourself better. And we started talking about this yesterday. I want to continue the conversation today and over the next few days of how we improve ourselves. The first thing is that willingness to improve ourselves. It only makes sense in this month to try and improve ourselves. And the reason those little tweaks are key, the reason those little changes, like we said in the example of the gym, you're eating, you're sleeping, what you're drinking, that has to be right as well, is because our life isn't just a series of individual points. And I've mentioned this before, right? It isn't a bunch of random individual things that happen. No, if you wake up late in the morning, the likelihood is you'll be late for the rest of your appointments throughout the day. The likelihood is if you went to sleep late last night, you're going to be tired and groggy today. Those aren't two separate things. You sleeping late last night and you being tired and in a mood today, they're not separate. It seems very obvious, right? But it happens across our life with everything we do. So often I get asked the question, how do I find concentration and khushu in my salah? How do I find concentration when I stand in front of my Lord? I've done my wudu, I've stood to pray, but as soon as I've done that takbiratul ihram, all of a sudden now I'm remembering every single thing in the world except for Allah. As soon as I say Allahu Akbar, now all of a sudden I'm remembering, oh, I'm going to have this for dinner later. Oh, I need to meet this person. Oh, I need to get that done. I need to pay that fine. I need to pay this bill. Everything comes into mind. And we think, why? I've done my wudu, I've stood up to pray, I'm on the musalla. It is because you can't just flick a switch and all of a sudden the religiosity starts. No. It's a holistic example. When you're aware of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the rest of your life, you'll be aware of Allah in your salah. The same way, when we're trying to improve ourselves, don't think to yourself, I'm going to pick just one tiny thing, I'll change that and all of a sudden it'll make everything better. No. Try and make improvements as much as you can across the board. Slowly build yourself up. Build yourself a pathway. And the reason that it's key for us is because as the followers of the Ahlul Bayt, as those who claim we have Iman, it's up to us to be the best of the best. It's up to us to hold ourselves to those higher standards. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is holding you to a higher standard. Why should you not also hold yourself to that same level? Why should you not also hold yourself to that same standard? You see, it's not everybody who on the Day of Judgment will be able to say, I was a follower of Amirul Mu'mineen. It's not everybody who on the Day of Judgment will be able to say that I followed the Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salatu was-salam. It's not everybody who gets to say, I had full faith and Iman in my heart. One of the most important aspects of Iman is that you're constantly trying to improve. You never settle for less. You never accept anything less than what is the best. And why should we? When we look at what our life is, when we look at how we got to be alive, forget the level that you're living your life at right now. Forget that for a moment. Just look at the very fact that you are alive. How much had to be perfect in the timeline of history? How much had to go just right for you to be alive today? For you to have even been born? If you think to yourself, one day, I don't know how many decades ago, if my grandfather hadn't met my grandmother, my great-great-grandfather hadn't met my great-great-grandmother, today I wouldn't exist. If you think to yourself, if at some point many, many years ago, one slight thing was different, and we see it in the movies, right? All these movies about time travel and going to the past, you make one tiny change, one tiny difference in the past and see how it impacts the future. How the future becomes entirely different. Why? Because of one tiny thing. And we can see it in our lives, right? When you think back to the days you were in school, The early days, your first few days at school, the person you sat next to then, if you had sat next to somebody else and become friends with a different person, all of a sudden, the kind of person you are, your personality would have been entirely different. If you had gone to a different school as opposed to the school that you went to, your personality could be entirely different. All these minute little moments, they shape us. Now think about how many of those minute moments there were throughout history that led to us being here today. We said it's all holistic, everything is linked. It is. How many moments in history had to be exactly as they were for this life and our existence as individuals, each and every one of us, for our existence to be the way it is? Now, when it took all of those moments in history to be precise and perfect in order for me to be alive, and then not just alive, living the life that I am with the personality, the skills, the traits that I have, when it took all of that for me to be me, wouldn't it be such a waste if my life didn't mean anything? Wouldn't it be such a waste if I didn't do anything with this life? The very first and foremost thing we have to think is, loved ones bury me. Will my life have made a difference? Sure, a few people will cry, but what difference will I have made to the world? That difference, it doesn't start when you're 80. That difference, it doesn't start when you're 90. That difference, it doesn't start when the doctors tell you time's nearly up. No, that difference is constantly going throughout your life. Whatever stage of life you're at, however young or old you may be, that attempt to make a difference begins. And see, when you truly make a difference to somebody's life, you realize that all of these ahadith, all of these verses of the Quran that speak about the difference that you make, when it speaks about saving a life, when it speaks about bringing somebody to Islam, when it speaks about having an impact on those around you, this is where you can do it. By making a difference to people's lives. To save somebody's life doesn't mean to jump in front of them and take a bullet for them. It can do, but it doesn't have to. To save someone's life can mean to take someone out of a difficult moment, to give them a reason to enjoy their life again. To bring someone to Islam, it doesn't mean a kafir who never believed in Islam to teach him about Tawheed and Risala and Imama and Qiyamah and Adala. No, it can be someone who was born a Muslim but they fell out of love. It can be someone who was born a Muslim but they were never taught to love their religion. They only had the name of a Muslim, and you make them a Muslim in the truest sense. And you know what that person gets? According to the narration, somebody who brings somebody to the religion, given the power of shifa. They'll be given the power to bring somebody into heaven with them. Now you see, if we're able to do that, lives of the people around us, then we can truly say, I made a difference. We can truly say all of those moments in history that had to be perfect for me to be alive today, I didn't let each and every one of those moments, they mattered and they meant something because they led to my existence, and my existence made a difference to the world around me. And that's what we should be trying for. That's what we should be aiming for. We should constantly be trying to make a difference to the world. We should constantly be trying to improve the world around us. And that comes from first and foremost improving ourselves. Understanding ourselves, understanding our place in this world. We have it narrated by the Holy Prophet Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Prophet tells us, "Man arafa nafsuhu faqad arafa rabbuhu." The one who understands himself, the one who recognizes himself, recognizes words. Take time to understand yourself, the level you're at, who you are, how you fit into the world, and then think, who do I want to be? How do I get to the point that I want to get to? And the thing about growth is, the thing about development is, it doesn't happen on the level that you're at. No. You can't think to yourself, oh, I can't achieve that. I can't get to that level because I'm not that person yet. No, the whole point of growth is you change yourself to get there. The whole point of development where you can. And as the followers of the Ahlul Bayt, it's our duty to be ambitious. It's our duty to reach for the stars and beyond. It's our duty to try and go for those highest of the high levels. Why? Because our teachers are at those levels. You see, I've mentioned this point before as well, that we have to be at a certain level to be taught by certain teachers. And I use the example of football. I'll use it again. If Abid is your football coach, then I'd assume you're all right at football. You can kick a ball just about. If I'm your football coach, I'd reckon you're pretty good. If your football coach is someone like Mikel Arteta, I'd reckon you're right up there. You're one of the best you can be. You see, the level of your coach, the level of your teacher, not everybody can learn from every coach, no. You can't go to Messi and be like, teach me how to be a great footballer, and not be able to pass the ball 5 yards. No, you're not going to be worth his time. We've got to make sure we're worth the time of those we claim to follow. We have to make sure that we are capable, we're worthy of calling ourselves the followers of the Ahlul Bayt. You want to be a follower of the Ahlul Bayt? You have to start off at a certain level. You have to raise yourself to a certain level to even associate yourself with them. It says very famously in the Holy Quran, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, إِنَّمَا يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ لِيُذْهِبَ عَنْكُمُ الرِّجْسَ أَهْلَ الْبَيْتِ وَيُطَهِّرَكُمْ تَطْهِيرًا. What's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saying? He's saying that He keeps all impurity, all rijs away from the Ahlul Bayt. Anything that is unclean, anything that is impure, it's kept away from the Ahlul Bayt. So if we call them our leaders, if we try and associate with them as our teachers, the first thing and the first change we have to focus on in this holy month of Ramadan is removing that rijs from ourselves, removing that impurity from ourselves, those bad habits, those sins which we can't seem to shed. This is the time to get rid of those. This is the time to make us any further. You see, this holy month of Ramadan is here for us to improve ourselves. It's here for us to develop ourselves. And on the path of the Ahlul Bayt, that is exactly what we should try to do, inshallah. Today, I just wanted to focus on this. The matter of why we're improving ourselves. We improve ourselves best of the best. We improve ourselves because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran very clearly that the mu'min, the one who has iman and faith, is raised higher than above everyone else. And so I have to match that level. We improve ourselves because we owe it to ourselves and the systems that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala set in place that allow us to be alive today with all the blessings that we have. We owe it to ourselves, we owe it to the Ahlul Bayt, and we owe it to the status Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promises us in the Holy Quran to be the best of the best. But look, we have to make sure that we do it in a realistic manner. We have to look at what we can do, what we want to do, and we have to remember always why we want to do it. I go back to the words in the will of Imam Ali alayhi salam, which he writes to his son Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba alayhi salatu wa salam. We focused on this quite a bit last year in the days of the Shahadat of Amir al-Mu'mineen. I'll remind you all of it again. Amir al-Mu'mineen, in a few different places and in a few different ways, in that one letter he writes as his final will, he reminds Imam Hassan, always bear in mind your goal and the path that you look to tread on. Always bear in mind your target. Always keep that in mind. And if you find yourself at a point where you've lost your path, if you find yourself at a point where you've lost that goal and that target from your mind, then stop. Understand that target and that goal again, and then go again to try and achieve it. The most important thing here is our goal, is our target, is our intention. What are we trying to do? And so today, let's focus on making sure that we have a clear target and a clear intention for this Ramadan. What is it that I want to change about myself? I want to become a better Muslim? No, that's too vague. What is it that you want to do that will make you a better Muslim? Have your target in mind, have it clear, because your intention is the most crucial thing that you have. Your intention is that thing wajib upon you. It's that thing which can change all of your deeds. It's that thing which can change a deed which has no value, an action which has no value, into something which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be happy with. There's a story of the time of one of our prophets where the prophet is walking and he sees a man building a house. As he's walking, he's seeing the man play. So the prophet, he asks the man, why have you done that? The man said, so I can get fresh air in and out of the house. It's a nice feature to have in the house. The prophet says, you know, if you had said, I've left this window here so that I can hear when people recite the call to prayer, the call to religion, then in that moment, just because of that intention of yours, every single time the adhan is heard, you would have received thawab. Every single moment that the adhan is heard, you would have received thawab. You still got that fresh air that you were getting originally. You still have that nice feature. But because your intention was for Allah and for the adhan, you would have been rewarded every single time the adhan is heard. You see, your intention changes everything. So this Ramadan, make a clear and firm intention. What you wish to do, what you wish to change, and be specific about your goals. Be specific about what it is that you want to do, that you want to change. Be ambitious with it, but know what it is you want. As Imam Ali says, that path that we're on, that goal that we're headed towards, it's the most important and the most crucial thing. And for each and every one of us, that end goal finally is qurba with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, closeness to our Lord. But we only get there through constant improvement, constant development. And this Ramadan is just the first step on what inshallah will be many. The first step on what will inshallah be a long staircase that leads Allah, and also along that pathway we reach the gardens of heaven inshallah. In the end, we'll raise our hands in dua and we pray to Allah Azza wa Jal. Oh Allah, accept all our ibadat in this holy month of Ramadan. Oh Allah, for all those mu'mineen around the world struggling with ill health, grant them complete shifa. Oh Allah, for all those mu'mineen who have left this world, raise their ranks in Jannah. Oh Allah, hasten the reappearance of the Imam of our time and allow us to enter Jannah under his banner. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع الدعاء.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. زيارة وارث. السلام عليك يا وارث آدم صفة الله. السلام عليك يا وارث آدم صفة الله. السلام عليك يا وارث نوح النبي الله. السلام عليك يا وارث إبراهيم خليل الله. وارث إبراهيم خليل الله. السلام عليك يا وارث موسى كليم الله. يا وارث عيسى روح الله. السلام عليك يا عيسى روح الله. السلام عليك يا وارث محمد حبيب الله. السلام عليك يا ابن